Hello and welcome to another episode of Erongo Talk. I'm your host, Irene van der Walt, and today I am very excited to join you here from Coastal High School in Swakopmund. In today's interview segment, we are going to be looking at the effects of plastic entanglement on Cape fur seals, and as always, we'll bring you the news, weather, tides, and a study tip. So stay tuned, we'll be right back after this. And now it's time for your news here from the mechanics classroom at Coastal High School in Swakopmund. In your first story for today, the New York Academy of Sciences estimates that sub-Saharan Africa requires 2.5 million more engineers to address the continent's gravest development problems. In the past 5 to 10 years, there has been an increased focus on science, technology, engineering and math, that is the STEM careers, in response to gradually declining numbers of matriculants choosing these subjects. However, despite this focus, the number of learners electing core mathematics as a subject in matric has not improved, which excludes them from pursuing tertiary studies in STEM fields, says the Human Resources Director of NIPASL Southern Africa. This has a direct impact on the consulting engineering industry in Southern Africa and, by extension, infrastructure development in Africa. Engineering requires skilled and experienced engineers, she explained. The fewer graduates we have in the field, the smaller the potential workforce becomes. And then, in our second story for today, the University of Namibia has decided to continue with online education, despite complaints from some students that the e-learning system is flooded with technical issues, leading to failure and poor quality learning. UNAM transitioned fully to its online classes in April of 2020 following the outbreak of COVID-19, which forced educational institutions, including those of higher learning, to implement e-learning as part of efforts to contain the spread of the virus. Although the President, Dr. Hage Geingob, on the 13th of August 2021, announced that all schools and educational institutions can operate at full capacity with strengthened infection prevention and control measures in place, UNAM's spokesperson, John Haufiku, said that the university is continuing with e-learning until the end of 2021. He said that this is due to the current COVID-19 situation and the projected oncoming wave. The university saw it fit to continue with online education. And then in our third and final story for today, the Namibia School Sports Union, the NSSU, nominated Lina Nanhele, 15 years old, to represent the country's under-15 team at the soon-to-commence International School Sports Federation World Sports Games taking place in Belgrade, Serbia. The grade 9 Tutaleni High School learner visited the office of the Erongo Regional Governor, Neville Andre, on Tuesday, a day before her departure to Windhoek in transit to Belgrade. Nanhele will represent Namibia in the 400 meters event. She said that if she wins a medal, she will dedicate it to her mother, Hilia Kamati. She always supported me, even when money was not enough, so that I can make a name for myself. The governor encouraged the young athlete to remain confident and to not go simply to the world stage just to make up numbers. And on that note, we conclude today's news. Remember that you can check out all the stories we discussed earlier and so much more at our website. That's www.erongo.com.na. That's www.erongo.com.na.
On a broad global scale, our consumption of plastics is increasing, and those plastics are getting into the marine environment and harming the animals that are living there. My name's Tess Gridley, and I co-direct the Namibian Dolphin Project and Sea Search Research and Conservation with Dr. Simon Elwin. We're mostly field biologists, so we're going out into the marine environment regularly, and what we're seeing there is plastics. We're seeing them on beaches, we're seeing them in the sea, and we're seeing them in the nests of endangered animals like Cape cormorants, and then also around the necks of the fur seals that we're working on. So the reason that we wanted to do this study was really to highlight what we're seeing every day when we're going out into the sea and into the marine environment.
The fishing industry has also undergone significant changes in the materials they use and is now using plastics throughout for fishing lines, ropes and fishing nets.
Now this particular study focuses on Cape fur seals, which are endemic to Namibia and South Africa. So this study focused at Pelican Point near Walfish Bay in Namibia, and also at Cape Cross, which is the largest colony of Cape fur seals. And Cape fur seals are very inquisitive, so they're like little puppies, little dogs, and they often interact with plastics when they come across them in the sea. So what we're finding is that seals are becoming easily entangled, particularly in aspects like fishing line, fishing net, plastic bags, packaging tape. And then because of the very dense fur that they have on their backs and their necks, these materials are becoming basically entangled around the animals. And as the animals grow, they're cutting into the skin of the animal first, then through the blubber layer and into the muscles. This is then causing the animals to slowly lose condition, and over time it's quite a slow and painful death. Particularly as these materials often increase the amount of drag that the animal faces, so it's much harder for them to find food. So we wanted to highlight this impact, and our study, which was led by our student Stephanie Curtis from Stirling University, looked at which materials were involved, looked at the severity of injury, and looked at which age cohorts and sexes of the fur seals were more likely to be impacted by plastic entanglements.
So at Ocean Conservation Namibia, we are an awesome opportunity to be able to collect a lot of data. We're dealing with hundreds of entanglements a year. Last year over 600 to be exact, and this year is just not looking any better, unfortunately.
Yeah, you're right.
We are not scientists, but we are very happy for this data to be used by people like Steph and the NDP to bring about some real change.
We're particularly interested in understanding which materials the seals are becoming entangled in, so that we can feed this information back to policymakers and back to industry.
The date, the time, the seal colony, the precise area, so we have 6 areas here. Then the GPS locations, to have it on the map. There was a male, sub-adult. We have some categories, so this is domestic or industrial because it's a plastic bag. It was severe, and which it's not a sighting, it's a rescue attempt. We removed the entanglement, we caught it with the net, and that's the number for the year, 233 rescues, and then we take a picture.
The only way we're going to see any change is to have scientifically backed up data to bring forward to government. The only way policy change is going to come in is if we have the right motivations, and this needs to be done by proper scientists and motivated in the right way with the right information. So we're really happy to be facilitating this and to be part of the bigger project.
Like a bird on a tree, I'm just sitting here. I got time.
What we found was that around 53% of the entanglements were caused by fishing-related materials. So fishing lines, fishing nets, and we also had quite severe injuries caused by packaging straps.
Together, it's so beautiful, you and me.
We would like to extend our research further, so to other colonies in Namibia, but also to South Africa. And so we're currently fundraising in order to be able to continue this research and conduct more work on marine plastics in Southern Africa.
Sometimes you need to go and take a step back to see the truth around you. From a distance you can tell. You and me were meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. You and me.
Good morning, I'm Calvin Martin, the principal of Coastal High School, and I'm a very proud principal of the school. All that I would like to ask my learners, or the study tip that I can give them, is to come to school prepared every day. Success is hard work, but you can achieve that if you are prepared. Good.
And now it's time for your weather and tides in Swakopmund and all the other major towns in the Erongo region. In your weather for today, Walvis Bay expects a maximum temperature of 19 degrees Celsius with a minimum of 15 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 22 degrees Celsius for tomorrow. The wind is expected in a west-northwesterly direction at 9 kilometers per hour. Sunrise was this morning at 5 minutes past 7 and sunset is expected at 6 minutes to 7 tonight. Swakopmund expects a maximum temperature of 18 degrees Celsius for today with a minimum of 14 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 20 degrees Celsius for tomorrow. The wind is expected in a westerly direction at 7 kilometers per hour. Sunrise was this morning at 5 minutes past 7 and sunset is expected at 6 minutes to 7 tonight. Henties Bay expects a maximum temperature of 18 degrees Celsius for today with a minimum of 15 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 19 degrees Celsius for tomorrow. The wind is expected in a westerly direction at 9 kilometers per hour. Sunrise was this morning at 6 minutes past 7 and sunset is expected at 5 minutes to 7 tonight. Arandis expects a maximum temperature of 29 degrees Celsius for today with a minimum of 19 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 33 degrees Celsius for tomorrow. The wind is expected in a west-northwesterly direction at 9 kilometers per hour. Sunrise was this morning at 3 minutes past 7 and sunset is expected at 8 minutes to 7 tonight. Usakos expects a maximum temperature of 37 degrees Celsius for today with a minimum of 19 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 38 degrees Celsius for tomorrow. The wind is expected in a northwesterly direction at 11 kilometers per hour. Sunrise was this morning at 7 o'clock and sunset is expected at 10 minutes to 7 tonight. Karibib expects a maximum temperature of 35 degrees Celsius for today with a minimum of 18 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 36 degrees Celsius for tomorrow. The wind is expected in a north-northwesterly direction at about 9 kilometers per hour. Sunrise was this morning at 1 minute to 7 and sunset is expected at 11 minutes to 7 tonight. Omaruru expects a maximum temperature of 36 degrees Celsius for today with a minimum of 17 degrees Celsius and a maximum of 36 degrees Celsius for tomorrow. The wind is expected in a north-northwesterly direction at 9 kilometers per hour. Sunrise was this morning at 1 minute to 7 and sunset is expected at 11 minutes to 7 tonight. And that unfortunately brings us to the end of today's program, but lucky for us, we get to greet you here from the Hospitality Lab at Coastal High School. So remember that you don't have to miss us too much until tomorrow, because you can check out our website. That's www.erongo.com.na. It's www.erongo.com.na for all the stories we discussed earlier and so much more. And if you want to let us know what's happening in your town and in your community, or get in touch for advertisement opportunities, you can get in touch at 0811 7040. That's 0811 7040 on WhatsApp and on Telegram. So until tomorrow, please remember to stay safe, wear your mask, sanitize your hands, maintain social distancing, limit your contact with other people. We will only beat COVID-19 if we work together. We'll see you again tomorrow.